gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today, before you guys, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys my purple red CB deck that I personally have been finding a lot more fun and interesting, just because it can really do a good range from low end to high end, and pretty much give a lot of protection and have some better control aspect than the green red. And then again, that is just my personal take on it. I have been having more fun with the purple red. There will be changes coming to the actual green red. We were able to go ahead and play green red at a NTC, and there were a lot of CB players there as well. So there will be changes that I've noticed when we were playing, cards that people were using that were very interesting that we're going to look into potentially putting into the deck as well. So there will be an update version of the green red CB deck. And on top of that, someone has asked me, what about green purple? And I currently am in the process of actually having green purple updated here as well. So we're going to take a look at that maybe in another video down the line. If you guys want to see the green purple a little bit sooner, then I'll look into doing that. But what I wanted kind of to focus on was obviously focus on this video would be the purple red CBs. Do some more duels with both of these decks and kind of take it from there. But if there is a rush for people who want to see an updated version of the green purple, then I will look to moving that deck profile a little bit sooner and trying to get some duels with that deck list as well. But today's video, we're going to be specifically looking at the purple red CB deck list. All right, so right now, currently right now, this is a just a test. I've played this a few different times, as you guys saw in my duel against a red-white player. There were changes from that build when we have this deck list now. So this is more of an updated list from the things I noticed from playing with that Chris in his deck. So without further ado, let's get into this deck profile and let me go ahead and show you guys what I am playing and also my mindset when it comes to playing these specific cards. All right, so now let's start off with the low end. When it comes to the low end, we are using 3 of the 2/2 level 2 cost 2 Exia that has 1 extra HP on here. I wanted to try this out because there is a lot of ping in our area, at least in my area. And with that being said, if they close combat it, I still live by 1. This just is a very interesting card. On turn 2, you can go ahead and drop this. There is a very rare chance that on a 2/1, the old Gundam, you're going to have 2 in your hand. If you have it, awesome. But a lot of times you only have 1 if you do. And when you do, you can actually just go ahead and drop this instead. There's times where I find like this is a little bit better. On top of that, you can eat up a gem and still have 1 HP. Obviously, they can go ahead and ping it. It's just 1 extra HP has been very interesting. It would have been nice to see a Cessna or someone linkable trade here, but understandable. But overall, I think this is a very, very interesting card. I wanted to try it out. I had it at 4, and then I ended up cutting it out to make room for other other cards in this deck. So we have 3 of those, sorry. And then we also have 3 of the red Gundam Exia. This one is very interesting. The reason I run it at 3 instead of 4 is when you're going against aggro, this is actually really, really solid to have. Because obviously you can go ahead and pop your 2-1s. But if you're not going against aggro, this becomes less and less good. The reason why I like this card in this deck specifically is because it is a linkable card to the Pilot Cessna, which is a purple unit. So it allows you to go ahead and link it if you needed to, like we talked about in our other video. When it comes to top end, when you're top decking and you have, you know, maybe Cessna, but you don't have a linkable unit yet, you top deck this, is more likely that you can go ahead and link it and then go ahead and win potentially. Sometimes there's always been that option where I just need 1 more linkable unit to go ahead and swing, and this is linkable. Why not? I have it at 3. There is not a lot of their English would be amazing today too. There's not a lot of aggro players around my area. It's more mid-range and a lot of top end heavy. So with this being said, that's why I have it at 3, not at 4. If your area is definitely a lot more aggro heavy, or maybe the meta starts to shift to really be aggro heavy, then doing this would be very important at 4, so you can go ahead and pop their 2/1s. Next we have on our list, we have 4 of the Gundam Virtue, the blocker, or that potential blocker. As long as you have a pilot in play, it becomes a blocker. It's just too good to not use it at 4. It is a blocker. When you have a pilot out in play, you can have a pilot out in any different aspect of the game. And it gives you some sort of protection early on. As you know, like your turn 4s and your turn 5s, you're going to have your LRs come out, and now you have some protections with having a blocker. With the green-red, unfortunately, the green-red, you don't have really much protection to go with it. This, you have more protection because of the blockers. So you have 4 of that. That's pretty much self-explanatory with the blockers. I run 2 GN armor type E's. I did see out in the wild in my area a lot of people running tokens. They were running the pants. They were running white base. So I did see that. So I had this at 1. I decided to drop up this to 2. It's still a really good card. It's pretty much like a Anksha, you know, but it doesn't ping. It just destroys if it's a level 1 unit or lower, or 1 AP or lower. So this can hit gun tanks. So it's very interesting this card can do, but it is also the stats of Anksha, so it's a 3/3. So I don't feel too bad with it. It's also Cessna Link, so you can go ahead and buff this up and make it a 6 on attack, because Cessna buffs everything by 1. So it makes it a 6 on attack, so it can break a base. Overall, I just think, why not more protection? If there's something innate that it has built in, why not use it? So I have it at 2. But I also have, with the 2 line, the 4/2 line, is the normal Exia. With this normal Exia, it allows me to hit a unit for 7 when it comes to putting Cessna on there. If not, it just becomes a 4 and hits a lot of boss units that are not paired. 4 AP is really solid, and you kind of want to have it again for those non-paired units. You try not to rush and drop your Cessnas if you don't have to. When they're dropping things that put their pilots on in play, then maybe you want to start looking into dropping it. But a lot of times you don't try to rush and put a pilot out as soon as possible, unless you need the blocker to become live. Then in that scenario you would. But a lot of times you're going to wait until you get into your LRs. Which, talking about the LRs, I personally like to run this card. I feel like it sounds self-explanatory, but when I saw some people talk about this on the Facebook group, and I also seen people send me other creators deck lists, they were not running Kyrios. I just think it's silly not to run this. This is a draw engine pretty much in the deck. It's also a first striker. It's also really good in this deck because it can protect with your virtues. You have cards like Arm Intervention, you have Damage Control, you have other command cards that can potentially be really good at keeping this unit alive. You can run the GN type armor blocker. There's just so many things you can use, and if you are doing everything correctly, this is pretty much, if you've ever played the green purple build of the CB, this is pretty much like you take your Dynamis package and your lock on out, and you just put the Kyrios package in there. This is just overall too good to not play. The fact that you can get the first strike, and you can also get a draw, pretty much a pseudo draw, as soon as you reveal it as a CB. This card becomes a super boss unit when you have multiple units out in the field. Turn them sideways, and then this can be easily come 7, 9, 11 AP. It can be insane if you are dropping that many units. So overall, it's silly not to run this. Again, it's just like you running purple green, and you're taking that lock on package out and you're putting the Kyrios package. Now, with that being said, I am running 3 of the Exia LRs. Now, this, I might potentially bump it up to 4, because there's times where I have wanted to mill more to get closer to having any all my effects out in the grave. I've always, when I did the turn 5, I have 6 in the grave, but not 7, so I can't get the effect right away. So sometimes I might want to bump this up and just drop this earlier, or try to be more early on. I could look into, like I said, dropping. When I show you guys my deck list fully, one of my buddy Tim was like, why don't you run the 2-1 O Gundam? I just find like this is a little bit better. Because it gives you that 1 extra HP, but I also don't even know what to cut out for it. So if you want to get more low end, then you have, you know, more of a chance to potentially get this to come out at, you know, having 7 in the grave. It can. 3s right now is solid. I will potentially look at either increasing this at 4 or increasing another unit at 4 just to make it more valuable. So this card is also pretty much a draw. You pair a pilot to it, any pilot, and it will mill 2 cards. And then if any of those cards were a CB card, you can draw 1. So you have a draw engine with this, and you have a draw engine with the Hallelujah. So figured, why not? All right, moving forward from that, you have 3 of the Throne Eins. Okay, this card is just really solid, especially when you have a lot of like little weenies on the field already. You can go ahead and drop this on turn 6, turn the other 2 units sideways, and everything on your opponent's side of the field takes 2 damage, which can be really good against aggro. So if you're still doing really good with aggro here, you're doing decent with aggro here, and now you have good aggro here. This can take out their Gundams and their Barbados without taking any damage, which is also really solid against playing against aggro. So this is just help solidify taking care of aggro. But on top of that, that can also take out any mid-range units as well, because it hits level 6 or lower. So if they attacked us and they have, you know, they're 5 HP and they attacked us, they took 3 for some reason, you can go ahead and drop this, and now you have destroyed their unit. So this has come up multiple times to go ahead and destroy their L or anything else that is in that range with damaged HP on themselves. So I think overall this card is really solid. There's times where, excuse me, there's times where I want this to have been 4, but I don't know how I would be able to justify too many high-end cards, because then you start to affect your low end. And you don't want to keep drawing multiple of these when you are on your turn 3 or turn 4, when you're hoping to really get more into your mid-range first. Your low mid-range, like your 4s, your Hallelujahs and Kyrios, you really want to focus on getting these. So if you keep increasing the high end, you have less and less chance you're going to get into these. But overall, I think it's solid. I would definitely recommend using this card because, again, doing a board wipe potentially on some tokens or on your opponent if they're damaged units, really helpful. Next, I'm running 1 Kyrios Trans Am, just another target for Hallelujah in this deck. So you have these 4 and you also have this as well. This is another target. It also has a first strike while it is out in the field, so it's also really good when it comes to that scenario as well. I had this at 2, but I'd rather have this sometimes more than this, because this deploy effect is always live. When I go ahead and drop it, I can go ahead and blow up the field. This can be live, but I might have to wait if I don't have the pilot or the pilot is somewhere else already on the field. This might have to wait. This is immediately. Overall, really solid card. Just another target for Kyrios to give it a first strike, and then you could potentially, if you have Hallelujah on this, then you can get that draw action going on there. All right, next is I'm running 3 of the GN Armor Type E's. This is the more mid to late blocker. It's a 5/4. It is a generic CB trait link. So this can work with Hallelujah if you really needed to. This can work with Cessna if you really needed to, or any CB deck that you are using. And their pilot, you can go ahead and rush if you need it to. I like this card a lot. This helps more towards that late game when you're potentially dropping bigger units and you don't want some of your units to die. Let's say they get rid of their virtues, but you still want Kyrios to still live. You can have some protection to that as well. So you can force those interactions if you needed to. I can see potentially dropping this down to 2 and maybe bumping this up to 4, or bumping it up to the next unit, which is the one I was talking about earlier, that I may want to potentially bring this up to 4. The reason why I want to potentially bring this up to 4 is there's been times where I milled this, and I've milled 1 Trans Am. I've seen 1 Trans Am in the shield, and I only have 1 Trans Am in the deck. this is your end game boss. This is it. No more other units besides this. This is pretty much it. This is going to be aggro killer. They focus so much on getting Kyrios out the way. You can block. You blow up the field. The turn before, potentially, you blow up the field or you hurt them a lot. You start to, play some mind games. If you have the link in play, you can go ahead and link the Trans Am with Cessna and go ahead and suppress. Now, sometimes the issue with this can be is you don't have enough of the CBs in the grave, which is where you want to specifically always keep dropping the lower end as much as possible. Drop and always make the board as wide as possible so you can always be able to have them focus on that. And if you needed to, you can then, crash your unit if you needed to. There's times where I crashed a unit and it was my last unit that I needed to make the 10. Drop Cessna with Trans Am, and then I have the effect live. Remember, CB base counts as well. So that also plays a factor into it. There's times where I really wanted another one of these, especially like on turn 6, turn 7, you drop this. On turn 8, you drop another one, and that one you have Cessna on there. Now you have 2 units that can suppress. Now they have to block one for sure. That also plays a factor into it. So there might be a time where I might potentially take out one of these GN armor type E's and either increase this to 4 or increase this to 4. These are the 2 ones that I'm considering to increase. I do like this, but like I said, I don't want to over... I can see plays, and it has happened. One of the friendly duels I did, that was not recorded, is I did get 2 of these out. I was able to get 1 to blow up the field. Next turn, blow up the field again. It is really nice to have that combo going. That can potentially lead into a board wipe for yourself, for your Trans Am. So there's times where Trans Am had to come out turn 8, which was fine because I didn't have enough anyway in the grave. So you can go ahead and nuke the board with this. So there's times where I might have wanted this at 4. But again, messing around with the ratios, you're going to be more towards the high end where you really want to be low to mid so you can kind of control the board as much as possible. But those are some changes that I will potentially be looking at when it comes to the deck, because those are the cards that really make a difference. Like I said, you have your aggro containers here, and you got your Exias, you got the GN armors here, you got the Ions to help blow up the field, you got problem solvers like Kyrios here to go ahead and take care of that. You have your blockers. You got 7 blockers to protect you. All those plays a factor into how that is set up. Next we have the pilots, which is self-explanatory. We are running 4 of the Cessnas. A lot of people like Arde, and I personally still feel Arde is probably on the bottom of my list of what I care for. Yes, Arde gives you a draw, but it is a pseudo draw. It is a draw that is conditional. It's situational. You need to have it be destroyed on your opponent's turn. I've had my opponent with a lot of people playing red, close combat it on my turn. Don't get the effect. I've had people do so many things to warrant not to hit the target. With battle damage, card effect damage, and then I cannot get its effect going on their turn. So it's very situational. It only gives you plus 1 AP, plus 1 HP. Virtue units are pretty solid. The Trans Am is very interesting, but you have to get to the late game to protect. Again, you could get there if you wanted to take something out. I would say probably if you really wanted this to work, this package, I would probably take out the Ions and put in the Virtue package, like put some Trans Ams Virtues in here. That can potentially help if you wanted to have Virtue Trans Am in here. But I personally don't feel like I want to run Arde in this specific deck. I want to focus specifically on all the linkable units that Cessna can have. You have the red one, you have all of these in the 4-2, you have the LR. This can be linked, and obviously this can be linked. So Cessna is actually really solid. Also keep in mind that a lot of times, and I forget this sometimes as well, is Cessna, if you have 7 in the grave, buffs all of your units out on the field by 1 AP, as long as they're a CB unit. There's times where I've almost forgot and I say, oh wait, no, this is actually a 5. Oh wait, no, this is actually 4 that takes it out. And that has helped me quite a bit immensely. Sometimes you have to remember that Cessna does buff everyone. It's a board buffer if you have 7 in the grave, which can forget all the time. This now becomes 3, 4, 5 buffer here on here. It becomes very, very strong by having Cessna. I think overall, I think Cessna is still good. I know a lot of people have harped on him, Cessna, because of Lock On and because of Hallelujah. Those two pilots are, in my opinion, better at what they do. They have units that are more critique specifically to what the pilot does. This not necessarily is like that. So hopefully we get some more love with Cessna and Exia. But I think overall, I still like Cessna a little bit more better than Arde in this build. Obviously, if you're running the Kyrios, you have to run the Hallelujahs as well. So we have the 4 of the Hallelujahs. This card is just too good. It makes a lot of decks that were CB a lot more valuable. So with this, it makes purple red also really good. You now have draw engine when it comes to the Kyrios. You also have draw engine on the Exia. So you are currently drawing with these aspects, which is why I don't really care for Arde. Arde is there for that draw. Well, you can get that draw without Arde. And if you need that plus 1 AP, plus 1 HP really, really bad, well, next thing I'm running is 2 of the Trinity Command pilot. Now, this really awesome. This is a CB card. So if you happen to draw it with Hallelujah's effect, you'll be able to add it to your hand. It is a command pilot, which is also like why I'm really caring for it. If you wanted to use it as the command, is a command main action that you can target up to 3 CBs and give it all plus 2 AP on that turn, which is really, really awesome. You are buffing your whole entire board. You can make people who thought they were going to live with their unit because they wanted to crash with your smaller units now unfortunately get taken out because you have this command. You also have this to be used on your pilots for potentially, you can put it on Exia so you don't waste your Cessna if you don't really need it to, just to get the mill 2 effect onto it. You can put this with your linkable Eins here. This is where you can link if you needed to in a pinch link to this. You can also link this to your G and armor type blocker because it is a CB as well. So this card is very, very interesting. If you saw my red white duel with Chris, these were 2 of the Nenas. The Nenas here, those 2 were really solid. They can buff any of your units by 3 extra HP, and I go back and forth with it because Nena is really, really strong. It makes an Exia LR a 4/7, which then they cannot rest. It makes your Gundam Exia here specifically, if you put Nena on it, it makes it a 6/7 on there as well, which makes it really, really awesome when it comes to that as well. They can't rest it, they can't bounce it up, and it has a lot more oomph to it when it has that extra HP in the background of it. I go back and forth, but I do like that this is a board wiper. This can board buff specifically, versus then I can just buff maybe 1 unit and maybe have an HP of another unit go up really high. The 2 AP is really nice when it comes to Nena, that it can support, but this can support almost half of your board, up to 3, which is why I've been going back and forth, but this is what I currently have, and it's a command pilot, so you can use it as a command or you can use it as a pilot, whatever you want. If you need to rush with that, you have an option as well. All right, now moving on to the commands, which we are trying to keep the commands really low so we don't whiff with Hallelujah and we don't whiff with Exia. So with the commands being set, we are running 2 of the Arm Intervention. This card is just as a CB related locked command, it is too good to not run. If you have units rested from their attack and they want to go in, boom, One of the reasons why I definitely, after talking to Tim, put this in the deck and maybe increase it to 2 was because one of the duels I played against with the green-red, I played against Minerva, and they had high maneuver, and they kept being able to get around. And as I'm thinking of playing that player, if I was playing purple-red instead, I wouldn't be able to actually stop their high maneuver. But in this scenario, they cannot be getting that off anymore. You have, a 5 AP on rest. You have, potentially 5 here because it's rested. You have 5 here. You have 5 here. You can make this very viable. You can block with another attack, right? Still live. They do high maneuver. You go right back into this. So high maneuver is actually really solid. I was considering bumping this up to 3, but I prefer the next command a little bit more, which is 3 damage controls. This card is super amazing in this deck. This is why I think that purple-red is a lot better, because there's a lot more protection when it comes to it. You have your blockers, all right? Now you have 2 really good command cards that you could potentially use at a 1 cost with his effect. With Exia effect, you're able to get 1 resource back at the end of your turn if you have 7 in the grave. And now you have 2 really good command cards that you can really potentially use in this deck. You can also protect your Trans Am. If they decide to smack you with another unit, you can go ahead and protect it with this. If you are going in with Trans Am and they decide to use a blocker just to stop you, you can go ahead and hit damage control and take almost no damage from that block hit. So that also plays a factor into certain things. But overall, this is all the commands I pretty much run, excluding this because this is technically a CB card. With this, if it's in the shield area, it's another draw. So draw, draw, draw. If they hit this on a shield burst, you get 2 -2 AP on their turn, so maybe they won't attack, or maybe their gym or their Grace custom can't now hit shields. It can work very well as well, but most of the time you're going to use it for protection. And last but not least, it is 4 of the Ptolemy. You have 4 Ptolemios because this card just becomes really, really solid. This also slows down the aggro matchup because you drop your low end unit, turn them sideways, then all their level 3s or lower really can't do any damage to the base at all. Now keep in mind, in more of a local friendly match, I kind of let my player know, hey, it can't really take damage. But when we're playing really, like in a serious matchup, I just keep quiet. They swing their level 3 into the base. They don't read the card. I said, okay. And then they swing another one. They're like, okay, yeah, break the base. And I said, okay. And then they're looking at me like, can you break the base? I destroyed it. And I said, well, that card does not receive battle damage. So you can target it, but it won't receive battle damage. And so sometimes that can be annoying. I can understand that. But if you're playing seriously, like I have to be, it is a target. You can technically target it because even on Mobile Suit Arena, you can technically target the base. It just won't receive battle damage. So I had to explain to a couple players that, it just doesn't receive any battle damage. They're like, well, in that case, then I can't attack. No, it can be targeted. It just can't receive battle damage. So, in a local scene, I would tell people, hey, but in a real serious, more competitive, okay. And this has come up multiple times. They thought they can go ahead and break the base, and this base is just really, really solid. Now, cards that I'm thinking about putting in that I forgot to bring out in my hands are maybe 1 to 2 Minerva bases. The reason for that is just to filter out your cards. Put what you want in the grave. To be able to put Minerva in this deck, I would have to potentially take out something in this area here to put Minerva in here on the base. And I don't know how I feel about that, because now you're going to increase this from potentially 5 cards you can't hit to maybe 6 or 7. and then you're taking off your mid-range. Again, maybe you could take off one GN armor type, maybe you could take off one Irons, or maybe you take off the Kyrios Trans Am. There's just, I would like to put it in the deck because it can filter out the deck and put something in the grave and then have the top card. You're looking at the top two, so it helps you filter. It helps you find maybe the key pieces that you want potentially with the Holly package. You're not going to drop Hallelujah with Kyrios just because you're on turn 4. This is a card that you want to wait until something's on the board that you can take care of. You don't want to just drop this just because you could easily lose it if you are not careful. So, or if you don't have protection for it. So when it comes to it, it is important to get into your Holly and Kyrios package. So having that Minerva squad base, or the Minerva base, can help you filter through. It would be nice to see some way to filter through cards naturally with CB. That would be really nice. But overall, I know for sure I'm looking into putting that Minerva base in here because it feels like it would actually help, and is also another base, so that, again, another base or two to be really annoying against aggro can be really good. Mid to late game, you hit a base, hey, all right, I'm more protected. And again, I'm already running blockers, I'm running arm interventions, so that already feels very solid to slow things down a little bit as well. But being able to filter through can be really good. And like I said, that can feed into your Exias, that can feed into your Transams. So that is probably why one card that I am looking into putting in here. I got to do more testing to see, do I really need the 3? I do at times. I really do board wipe, and it becomes very helpful. But with more and more players playing the white-red, getting to Neo Zeong, that also plays a factor. They are running into Kshatriyas, they're running into Sananjus. This can hit them. So that's one of the reasons why I do not want to take this off, because that can hit those units. And now their unit went from a 6 HP or 5 HP. Now they're down, 2 less on that. So that becomes where it can be hit with a 4, So that also plays a factor into how I'm thinking about this specifically. But this is my purple-red CB deck that I'm going to play with. I'm going to do some more duels. I'm going to see if I can get more recording with it, because I personally feel like this is more of a well-rounded protection, where the green-red is definitely more of the aggro. Try to drop as much as you can. You try to breach as much as you can. You try to drop a lot of units as low as you can. You use close combat to control. Is very low to the ground, which is nice. But my playstyle specifically is more of that mid-range control, and I personally like how this is. I got protection. I have ways to do battle tricks. I have ways to pop things on the field, both First Strike and also Trans Am. I also have the Irons. I just find it as more of a well-rounded package, and why I personally like the red and purple CB a little bit more in my liking. But that is pretty much it. There are probably more cards I could think of that we can try out. Leave it down in the comments down below what you would probably add to it as a tech. Again, I just don't personally like Arde. If you wanted to try the Trans Am, we talked about it briefly already. The Death Touch Trans Am can be very helpful. It can remove things off the board. I'm trying to think of what else. I can't think of off the top of my head. If there's anything else you guys want, you can add it to the comments down below. But this is just a rough draft of the deck that I've been playing with the red-white player, Chris, but also something that I've been critiquing and making changes to make it a little bit more better, and make it more, I guess, anti-aggro, and on top of that, being able to be good at the end game as well with this as well. And I find that Trans Am is really solid, because if you're going against those Neo Zeong players, they keep that Neo Zeong on top. All right, swing, pop it. If it's the only unit on the board, swing and pop. So that also plays a factor into it. So I feel like overall, this deck is just a more well-rounded deck. But that's pretty much it. Stay tuned for more duels. If you guys want to see an updated version of the purple green, deck, I would have to start. This is just me putting all the cards back together. And this would be me, testing it out back on the field, trying it out, seeing how I like it, making the minor adjustments to see if it's something I like, and then updating you guys on that. And my personal, opinion when it comes to the green and purple deck. But that is pretty much it. There are other deck profiles that I like to do. I would like to do a Trinity ping deck, specifically focusing on Trinity and pinging. I would like to do an Alial Sanchez deck as well. And then from there, once I have all those decks kind of like taken care of, I'm going to then start looking to expanding to different decks. Hopefully we can get to that scenario before GDO5 comes out, because then we'll start knowing what we can potentially running in GDO5 set comes out. But I'm hoping to get all these deck profiles for CBs, have it the way I want it, and I'll leave it in the back burners when I want to play it out at locals or NTCs. I have it, but then I can start playing with other decks that are fun, that maybe are not in my archetype, that are the series that I like. Then I can start looking into those decks as well. So when we get to that scenario, it'll be really nice to see what other people's opinions are on those decks. Again, these are decks that I personally cooked up myself. And those decks that are not the series I've been into, I'm probably going to almost copy paste and then make some changes to what I personally like when it comes to it, because obviously they're tried and true when it comes to that. But that is pretty much it, guys. I'll catch you guys in our next video. Thank you, share, like, and hype up the video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.